A very good afternoon and Jai Hind everyone. Today I am going to start the fourth chapter, that is business services. So many contents are there. This is a quite lengthy chapter. One by one we will try to finish it. Let's begin with the chapter business services. So one case study is given in the starting of the chapter inside the box. You just read this case study as a homework by yourself and you will get to know that what are the various services which are required in businesses. So I just brief it out that business services, they are of so many categories like banking, insurance, communication, transportation, warehousing. These are the various types of business services which is needed for the smooth conduction of the business activity. Now I will start from the introduction over here. So you must all have sometime or other experience the effect of business activities on your lives also. Now let us examine few examples of business activity, that is, suppose purchasing ice cream from a store, eating ice cream in a restaurant, watching a movie in a cinema hall, purchasing a video cassette CD, purchasing a school bus, and leasing it from a transporter. If you analyze all these activities, means all these examples which are given here, you will observe that there is a difference between purchasing and eating. Yes, of course, there is a difference between purchasing and there is a difference between eating. Purchasing and watching, yes. Purchasing and leasing. So what is common in all of them is that one is purchasing an item and the other is experiencing a service. Suppose you are purchasing an ice cream, so you are a purchaser. One is purchaser, means one is purchasing an item and the other is experiencing a service. But there is a definitely a difference between item or a goods and services performed. For a lay person, services are essentially intangible. You cannot see the services. Means services can only be felt. It can only be experienced. For example, doctor is providing you a service. You can only feel the service which the doctor is providing you. Okay? You cannot see the service. Their purchase does not result in the ownership of anything physical. Means when you are purchasing services, then you can only experience the service. It does not result in the ownership of anything physical. When you buy the goods, when you buy the commodity, there is the ownership of physical item. Suppose if you buy a mobile, so you become the owner of that mobile as soon as you purchase that mobile. But when you buy the service, you just only feel the service, you just only experience the service. For example, you can only seek advice from doctor. Means you can only get advice from doctor. You cannot purchase doctor. Similarly, services are those economic activities that are intangible. Intangible means which cannot be seen, which cannot be touched. Tangible means which can you can see and which you can touch. So goods and physical items, like anything, you can take the example book, mobile, anything. These are tangible things. These are the physical item. But the services are intangible items, and it implies an interaction to be realized between the service provider and the consumer. One is, suppose doctor is providing the service and the patient is consuming the service. So many domestic servants are also coming in your house. They are providing the service. They clean the house, they wash clothes, they clean the utensils. So they are providing the service and you are the consumer of that service. Services are those separately identifiable, essentially intangible activities that provide satisfaction or want and are not necessarily linked to the sale of a product or the other services. Means it satisfy your need also. We need the service of a restaurant, we need the service which we are getting in a cinema hall, and when we are traveling somewhere we need a hospitality service in a hotel also. So services, they are also essential part of our life. A good is a physical product, means a good which is tangible in nature. It is a physical product which is capable of being delivered to a purchaser and involves the transfer of ownership from seller to consumer. Suppose you buy a car, Car is a physical item, and when you purchase the car, then the ownership transfer from the seller to the buyer. When the buyer purchase the car, buyer become the owner of that car. So in goods there is a transferability of ownership. In services there is no transferability of ownership. Doctor only provides you a service. You cannot become the doctor, or you cannot purchase the doctor. So goods are generally used to refer those commodities and items of all types except services which involve in trade or commerce. Means when we are doing trade, we do the trade of physical item. Okay, trade means, I have already told you, trade is a buying and selling activities. So whenever we are doing trade, we trade. In trade, mostly we do the trading of physical items and commodities. Now one by one I will in brief explain you the nature, means the characteristics of the service. The first character is intangibility, means services are intangible, it cannot be seen and touched, they can only be experiential in nature. This I have already told you. Means when you cannot taste doctor's treatment or touch entertainment, one can only experience it. Means you can only experience how the doctor is, what kind of treatment he is providing you. That's why sometimes you say that this doctor is good, this doctor is not good. Why? Because some doctor service is very good, some doctor service is not quite good for you, or treatment is not suiting to you. An important implication of this is that quality of the offer can often not be determined before consumption. Yes, means in services, the quality of service matters a lot. Until and unless you cannot consume the service, you cannot say whether the service is good or whether the service is bad. Therefore, it is therefore important for the service provider that they consciously work on creating a desired service so that the customer undergoes a favorable experience. Favorable experience means satisfied experience. Means, for example, treatment by a doctor should be favorable experience. Favorable experience means positive experience. No, after experiencing the service, customer should not say that the service is not good, it is not satisfactory. For example, when you go to a sometimes in a hotel, in a restaurant, you say that the service in a restaurant is not good, there is a very late delivery of food, and the customers, they are waiting, and they have to wait so a lot of time for the food on the table. So we say that the service is not good. So service should be designed, it should be created in such a manner that the customer must be satisfied with the positive feedback. Second is inconsistency. Inconsistency means the very important characteristics of service, that there is no standard of particular standard of services as like product. Services can be performed according to the customer's need. Means it is performed exclusively means services are customized, you can say, according to the customer's requirement. Suppose doctor is not giving same medicine to every patient. Doctor is providing a service and he is not giving same treatment to every patient, because different patient, they have different want, they have different disease. So as per their requirement, they are giving them treatment. So services, they are designed according to the customer needs. Inconsistency means it is not all the time consistent in nature. It means it changes as per the customer requirement. Service provider need to be have an opportunity to alter, means to change their offer closely meet the requirement of the customer. Means according to the customer requirements, services can be changed. This is happening, for example, in case of mobile service also. In mobile services, you can see different companies, they are offering different kinds of services. They are offering for example, monthly package, weekly package, then 6 monthly package, different kinds of services they are offering. And customer, they are consuming the service as per their need, as per their requirement. So whenever you go for example, somewhere in a hotel, so sometimes you need a small room, because if you do not need very big room, or you cannot do not need a required air conditioned room. So you can buy even a cheap rooms also is also available, and even the luxurious rooms are also available. So it depends upon the customer what kind of services they want in a hotel. So the services, they are exclusively designed according, exclusively means they are designed differently for different kinds of customer. It cannot be same, it cannot be consistent for everyone. Now the third is inseparability. This is very important feature of service. In service, one is the provider of service and the other person is the consumer of the service, and we cannot separate the provider of the service and the consumer of the service. For example, if the teacher is teaching to the student, means teacher is providing a service, at the same place, at the same time the student is also consuming the service. Okay, doctor is treating the patient, at the same place, at the same time patient is consuming the service of a doctor. So we can say it is the simultaneous activity of production and consumption being performed, means the time at which the services are produced, at the same time the services are consumed also. There is no time gap between the production and consumption of the service. In a good, there is a time gap. Suppose whenever you buy a commodity, suppose you buy a packet of biscuit, you see the expiry date, you see the manufacturing date on the product. So goods are manufactured suppose in the month of July and you are consuming in the month of August. So there is a difference time gap between the production and consumption in case of commodity, but not in case of services. The production and consumption both happened simultaneously. This makes the production and consumption of services seems to be inseparable. Inseparability means there is an inseparability between the production and consumption. Both happened at the same time. So whenever we can manufacture a car today and sell it after, say after a 1 month. So this is possible. This is not possible with the services. Ki you produce a service today and you sell the service tomorrow. No, the day, the time at which the services are produced, at the same time they are consumed also. In a movie hall, they are providing you the service that you see a movie on a big screen. So at the same time the hall is providing the service and the consumers, they are sitting over there, audience, and they are seeing the picture over there. At the same time they are consuming the service of a cinema hall. So service provider may design a substitute for the person by using appropriate technology, but the interaction with the consumer remains a key feature of service. Until and unless the consumers are not interacted, you cannot deliver the service. Means consumer must be present. ATMs may replace the banking clerk. Earlier when we don't have automatic teller machine, ATM, you all know, we are withdrawing monies with the help of ATMs by inserting our debit cards and all. So earlier it replaced the service of whom? It replaced the service of banking clerk. Where earlier we go to bank to withdraw our money, but now we have a facility that we can withdraw money at any time 24 into 7 hours from the ATM's machines. So for the front office activities like cash withdrawal and check deposit, earlier we have a banking clerk. But at the same time, the presence of customer is also required, and his or her interaction with the process has to be managed. Means banking clerk is providing the service to which helps the customer in withdrawing their money from the bank. So there is interaction between the banking clerk and the person who is withdrawing the money. It means the provider of the service and the consumer of the service both must be inseparable. They must be interacted, then only there is a delivery of service. And last is inventory. Inventory means, the meaning of inventory means stock. You cannot maintain the stock of services like you maintain the stock of goods. Suppose in a factory you are manufacturing chips, suppose for example, so you can store that commodity, you can make the stock of that commodity, and then you can supply with the help of transportation. But services, you cannot produce beforehand and maintain the stock of that or maintain the inventory of that. Services, they are produced whenever they are needed. So services, they are intangible, so we cannot see and we cannot touch it. and it cannot be stored for a future use also. Goods you can store. For example, farmer is growing a crop, so he can store the crop, and whenever there is a favorable price in the market, farmers sell the crop in the market at a good profit. But you cannot store these services as like goods. So there is services, they are perishable, and providers can at best store some associated goods but not the service itself. Goods can be stored but services can never be stored, means you cannot maintain the inventory of services. This means that the demand and supply needs to be managed as the service has to be performed as and when the customer asks for it. Means when the customer demand for the service, only then it is produced. If the customer is not demanding, suppose if customer they are not going to restaurants, means they are not demanding for the service. Right now in lockdown, so many people, so many services, they are stopped because customers are not there. Customers are not demanding services in restaurants, in the hotels, in a cinema hall. So there is no production of such kinds of services. For example, a railway ticket can be stored, but the railway journey will be experienced only when the railway provides it. So ticket you can store, but the service which the railway is providing, that is you are moving from one place to another, this is a service which the railway is providing, and this services can be experienced only when the railway provides the service. Means if the you cannot make the stock of the service beforehand, you cannot make the stock of journey. You can experience the journey only when you use that, only when you travel in the railway, then only you can experience the railway service. Now the last characteristics of service is involvement. One of the most important characteristics of service is the participation of customer in the service delivery process. Means a customer has the opportunity to get the service modified according to the specified requirement. So involvement of customer is there, participation of customer is there. Suppose sometimes we need a service, we are taking the service of a decorator. If we suppose you have some party at home and you want to decorate your house, so customer they can modify the service, they can tell the decorator how to decorate the house, which kind of balloon color of balloons you want, which color of other lights you want. So everything is according to the customer participation. So service is provided as per the involvement of customer must be there. A customer has an opportunity, they have a good opportunity to get the service modified, means you can change the service according to your requirement. So all these are the nature of the services I have discussed here. I just briefly recapitulate. First is intangibility. Services cannot be seen and touched, it is only experiential in nature. Inconsistency means it is different for different customer, it is not designed consistently for it's consistently same for everyone. Inseparability means provider and the consumer of the service cannot be inseparable. Production and consumption of the services takes place at the same time, means simultaneously. Then fourth one, you cannot make the stock of services as like you can maintain the stock of goods. And the last is involvement of the customer have opportunity to get the services modified as per their requirement and desired. So these are all about today's class. I have discussed all the characteristics of services. In next class we will move further in the chapter, types of services we will discuss, and the difference between goods and services also we will discuss. This is all for today's class. If you have any query, you just inform me and ask me. So this is all for today's class. Try to read the text from NCERT book also, and try to make the notes of this chapter also, so that your fair copy should also be complete. This is all for today's class. Thank you everyone. Jai Hind and take care.